Hannah Brown
has joined.
Okay, everybody. I love my little mallet. Okay, I am going to call the Centennial Special Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial to order. And before I go any further with that, I understand that Member Creer, you have something that you want to share.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it's very fitting that we're here at the Centennial Commission discussing this. Because the City of Las Vegas, in collaboration with the West Side School Alumni Foundation, is inviting everyone out to celebrate the Historic West Side School Centennial Celebration. The Historic West Side School happens to be in the Historic West Side, yet it is the oldest school in our city, and we're blessed to have it located directly in Ward 5. We're having a big parade, which is going to take place over on Jackson Avenue. We're going to come down Jackson and then end up at the school. The festivities are going to take place from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have, food trucks. We'll have all types of fun for the kids, and everyone is invited. It should be great. Many times that we do not celebrate our history enough in our city. We've always been labeled to say that we tear down the old and bring in the new, but this is a time where we have spent a lot of resources and dollars and time into renovating the West Side School over the years. Even my predecessor before me was engaged in that. And so I urge you all to come out and celebrate if one of the most historic monuments in the city of Las Vegas, if not the most historic monument in the city of Las Vegas. So don't forget, this Saturday, parade's at 10 a.m. Festival is from 11 to 4 p.m. Thank you, Mayor.
And if I might, Member Creer, the parade's for free.
Yes.
And any touring is for free.
Yes.
However, bring money if you want to eat.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so our first item, of course, I'm going to call to order the September 26, 2023 Special Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial Board meeting. And, Madam Clerk, are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are in compliance.
And may we do a roll call, please?
Yes.
Call from 70246329001.
Chair Goodman,
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Bryan,
Here.
Commissioner Arnold,
Here.
Commissioner Stodel,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner Coffin, Commissioner Hilton, Commissioner Sanook,
Here.
Commissioner Mowbray,
Present.
Commissioner Truesdale, Commissioner Brandenburg, Commissioner Creer,
Here.
Commissioner Mills,
Present.
Commissioner Prado,
Here.
Commissioner Diaz. Here. Thank you.
And Commissioner Coffin did call me. I'm sure he's going to try to call in. So we'll pick him up when he gets on. If he does call, you'll be able to get that and let us know, please.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're going to have our first public comment. During this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, please give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. And we'll set the time unless it's you really need more at a minute, if that's all right. There will be a second public comment. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and Your Honor. My name is Susan Nwagbi. My last name is spelled N as in Nancy, W-O, G as in girl, B as in boy, E as in Edward. And I'm here to speak on item number 7, the design guidebook for the historic West Side, specifically requesting funding for that. I'm representing Collins Forward Move Incorporated. Collins Forward Move is in favor of a design standard for the historic West Side restoration project. We request that you approve the funding solicited for the proposed consultants, KME Architects and Chattel Incorporated. And that could be pronounced Chattel, so if I pronounced it wrong, please forgive. We would like them to complete a design book which would introduce design standards, principles, and help in identifying shared build objectives. As landowners actively engaged in the Jackson Avenue redevelopment initiative, we've inquired about a visual depiction of what the end result would look like. And it is our belief that a design standard would be of significant benefit in providing design direction, thereby enabling the community and landowners to better envision what the final product or outcome would be. We like the approach proposed by the consultants, specifically that heavily rooted component that engages the community and landowners, seeking their input and participation on the design standard. A purposeful intent to preserve the historical values of the areas is also noted. A primary focus for us is the provision of an architectural standard, one that allows for seamless integration of the old and the new, to include the incorporation of existing alleyways. A design guide will aid us in the most effective and efficient ways to reuse and restore our existing properties. As a stakeholder in this project, we could use guidance on parking and pedestrian throughways, and we welcome a design standard that addresses building facades and building materials, lighting, roofing design, landscaping, and of course, sustainable building initiatives. We do understand that a design standard is not an inflexible rule, but it will serve as a guide centered upon predefined goals and the shared objectives of the community as well as landowners. We look forward to a favorable decision on this item, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
fine report. Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the board. My name is Melvin Green. We are also commenting on item number 7. We are the proposed architects for the team. We've worked in West Las Vegas for a very, very long time. Matter of fact, we were the architects of record for the historic West Side School. We've worked on other projects there in terms of Wendell P. Williams Elementary School, and we're doing the new West Las Vegas Library. So we are in support of you approving item 7 for the historic West Side guidelines. We believe that we have the experience along with our team, Chattel. We've also have a historic consultant by the name of Clay T. White, who everybody knows. She's been very instrumental in the community. And Olivia White, she is our historic consultant as well. So we believe that we have a team that would actually do a very good job on this project in terms of doing the analysis for all of the items that the previous speaker mentioned. We feel that we have the capability of doing all those things as well. But that is said, I'll introduce Olivia as well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Olivia White, Historic Preservation Consultant on this project. Along with Chattel, KME, Some New Marketing, and Clay T. White, we believe we've assembled a project team that not only has the expertise to do this project, but is deeply invested in the community and has worked in the West Side. There's a lot of great historic documentation on the west side, and we're looking to build upon both what's in the west side, what's been lost on the west side, and develop design guidelines that really help bring the area into the future, but are inspired by historic precedents. So we look forward to answering any questions on item 7 when it comes up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Mayor, just a quick question. A little audio challenge over here. Is there a way that can be brought up just a notch?
Yes. Who do we have from technology here that might be able to just bring the voice up a little bit? We used to have speakers here.
Maybe up to 13.
Oh. What's it on, 12? You're
That's a
kidding.
Spinal Tap
Hold
show.
on, is that a speaker or is that recording you?
I believe that's a speaker.
Okay. How long's the cord?
Not very.
Oh, no, it's wrapped. Oh, yeah, you're right, it is. All right, we'll try. Do you have one of those?
I think we just
Turn the volume up.
Let's turn it up just a little bit. Thank you so much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor. I'm here, my name is Dante Scott, and I want to speak in relation to item number 7. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of Centennial Commission, fellow residents of historic West Side, and those passionate about the preservation of rich history, good afternoon. My name is Dante Scott, and while some of my properties are situated on B Street, they're mere steps away from the iconic Jackson Avenue. Today, I'm here not just as a property owner, but as someone deeply passionate about the soul and essence of the historic West Side. I want to commend the initiative taken to formulate the design guidelines for our cherished West Side. Those aren't just guidelines, they're a blueprint for our future while honoring our past. They represent a bridge between where we've been and where we're going, ensuring that the unique architectural and cultural fingerprint of our community remains intact. This is not just resisting progress, but more about merging the traditional with the contemporary. There's an art to it, one that pays homage to the deep-seated history of our region while simultaneously laying the foundation for our future that all of us, the old and the new, can proudly stand behind. The entire team involved in crafting this initiative have done more than just their due diligence. They showcased the vision, commitment, and dedication to ensuring that the historic West Side remains not only in our memories, but in the brick and mortar of every structure that it calls home. To some, guidelines might be seen restrictive, but I see them as a compass, pointing us towards a future where we don't just build, but rather craft, with intentions, respect, and reverence for the past. The decision we make today will shape our neighborhood for generations to come. I am eager and indeed proud to vocalize my support for the proposed funding, its investment not just in the bricks and stones, but in the shared heritage, our collective future, and the very soul of the historic West Side. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please come forward, state your name for the record as well.
Good afternoon, everyone.
There.
My name is Deidre Edmond Drew. I am the current property owner at 418 Jackson. These are the pictures of my grandparents who had this property since 1942.
Wow. Can you turn them?
I don't know
They're
how you-
upside down.
How you put them?
Great.
Put them there. Okay. That's my grandmother standing in front of the property in the 1950s. And this is my grandfather and one of his best friends in front of the historic Johnson's Malt Shop that was on Jackson Street. I am here as a legacy child, so just like Susan's, whose property was across the street from mine, and Marcus Allen, whose grandmother lived on Jackson Street. We are legacy kids that are in favor of some progress finally coming out to Jackson Avenue. It's been a long, arduous process, and if this guideline book helps us moving forward, then I'm in favor for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close this public comment. We'll move on to agenda item 4 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the regular meeting of July 24th, 2023.
So moved.
Thank you very much. There's a motion and a second by member Mowbray, I think it was. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion carries. We'll move on to agenda item 5, report by the City of Las Vegas Finance Department staff regarding the commission for the Las Vegas Centennial budget for the fiscal year 2023.
Good afternoon. For the record, Kathy Nye from Finance, and I will be reporting the statement of activities for the commission for the Las Vegas Centennial as of August 31st, 2023. So we have total revenues of $28,000, program expenditures of $64,000, administrative expenses of $5,000, and total expenditures of $68,000, resulting in a decrease in net assets of $41,000 and total net assets of $6.6 million. Do we have any questions?
Okay, any comments, questions from commission?
Just to start off with the record, just a quick question. If potentially at the next meeting, if you could show us over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe potentially, when did the Golden Knights join us?
17?
To show us any sort of decline in percentage each year, so we can get some idea of where next year and the next year, the following would be your mathematical estimate of what we would see in the next quarter and maybe the next 3 quarters. So we just have some planning idea.
To be clear, you wanted to see a projection for the revenues for the next 3 quarters? Is that what you said?
That was a very simple way of trying. Thank you very much.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. That's a report. We'll move on to agenda item 6, 230355 CLC1, abeyance item. Discussion for possible action regarding approval of funding in the amount of $100,000 to KME Architects to create the historic West Side design guidelines for commercial and residential properties located in the historic West Side, an area roughly bound by Owens Avenue, Interstate 15, Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Ward 5 with Councilman Creer. And so...
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Diane Seabrant, for the record. We are asking for this item to be stricken, please.
Okay.
Do we need a motion? Stoddard makes a motion to strike this item from the agenda.
Okay, there's a motion. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, there's a second, Member Sinnock. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to agenda item 7.
Excuse me, Chair. Commissioner Brown, is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
And did Member Coffin join yet? No.
No.
Okay, thank you. And that motion carries. Now, agenda item 7, please, 230470 CLC1. Excuse me. Discussion for possible action regarding approval of funding in the amount of $209,255 to KME Architects to create the historic West Side design guidebook for commercial residential properties located in the historic West Side, an area roughly bounded by Owens Avenue, Interstate 15, Martin Luther King Jr., Ward 5, Councilman Creer.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of the Commission. My name is Jamie Gillis. I'm a consultant to the City of Las Vegas, and I've had the honor of working with the city, with Councilman Creer, on developing the 100 Plan in Action and working with every city department to help see its implementation through and all the wonderful progress we've seen in the historic West Side. I know you've had a presentation on this particular proposal already back in July, and we did listen, review, and have gone back and really talked internally about how to come back with more clear information and I think a clear directive of what we're trying to achieve with this particular project. So I have a short presentation I'll walk through, and then we'll leave plenty of time once again for questions that you all may have. I wanted to make sure that we're clear in presenting this concept, that it isn't a one-off. As you've heard from our speakers, the design guidelines, the design guidebook we're proposing today is a recommendation that was born directly from the original 100 Plan and then the 100 Plan in Action, which is our implementation strategy. And there is a tremendous amount of investment going on in the historic West Side. And I know this map is very hard to see, but any color you see on here is money being invested in the historic West Side right now. For the first time in decades, we have millions, tens of millions of dollars being invested from both the public and private sector in development projects, housing projects, food insecurity projects, healthcare centers, roadway improvements, and so much more. So there's a tremendous amount happening and a tremendous amount coming. More than $77 million has been committed just since 2019 when the 100 Plan in Action was done, and that doesn't include the incoming private sector investment, much of which is focused on the redevelopment of Jackson Avenue and on significant housing projects happening throughout the West Side. Again, I'm not going to go through in detail all of these elements. We'll let you read them, and we can certainly come back. But there are a number of projects that are completed. Recently celebrated the opening of the Jackson Avenue Complete Streets project, and quite a few city investments based on workforce training and really getting the area ready for investment. And now that investment is coming. That top project you see, the Share West Side mixed-use housing project, is really the first enormous public-private partnership project that will bring 104 new workforce housing units plus a market hall and food incubator on the ground floor, is adjacent to the West Side School, which will also see new investment in the form of the West Side Education and Training Center being done in partnership with CSN and the city. And so many other things: Small Business Support Center, investment in James Gay Park in a cooperative market, the Holistic Wellness Center on Jackson Avenue, Mario's Market expansion, work on bringing a museum to the area, and significant investments still to come that are currently in the planning stages. We also wanted to point out, in reference to some of the discussion that happened at the July meeting, that while yes, there is significant ownership by churches as well as by the city and by the housing authority, what you're seeing here is a map of the West Side boundaries and all of the other property in there. So the colored property represents a property that is owned by a church, by the city, or by the housing authority or some other government entity. But all of that other property is privately owned.
Bob Coffin calling.
And sorry. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, that's Member Coffin who's been able to join. Thank you.
Yes. So there's a significant amount of property, and there are investments coming on both, as I said, the public and private sector side, all of which need some level of design direction as we move forward so that they are working in harmony with both the past and the future of the West Side. So our project proposal today is for the Historic West Side Design Guidebook. The funding request is $209,255, and the proposed consultant is KME and Chattel. We are coming back today with a higher proposal amount. I want to just go ahead and address that up front. This is directly reflective of the great questions and commentary that happened at the July meeting, and us going back to KME and Chattel and saying, we recognize this project is going to require a significant amount of research, of public engagement, of touch points with the commission, coming back and forth, of illustrations, photography, and also making sure that the proposals we are doing are working in harmony with all of these projects that are coming online simultaneously in the West Side. It's a significant amount of work to make sure we do it right. It's a significant investment, yes, but it also, as you've heard from some of our speakers, is paving the way for everybody to invest together collectively in the West Side. We've set out the approach. It's really a 5-part approach, and you can see there how that work breaks down. We have definitely accommodated for coming back to the commission as the guidebook is put together and having some touch points so you can see how it is developing. We estimate that the work will take about a year, and so you can see the timeline there. We have looking at starting in January. Why KME? Well, you've already heard from them themselves. They have a lot of experience in the West Side. They know the community. They know about design guidelines, working on the John S. Park and Beverly Green Historic Neighborhood District Design Guidelines update, and so they're well qualified for this project. This guidebook also builds on work underway. The work to inventory and preserve historic buildings in the West Side just is wrapping up. You've gotten a presentation on that. The African American Museum Master Plan will be wrapping up in December, and that has included a deep dive into the built environment of the West Side. Public engagement with historical records grant that we're seeking to bring the community into conversations about the neighborhood's history. A Jackson Avenue Development EDA grant, which will help some of the folks who heard here today actually develop their properties on Jackson, and then that significant public and private sector investment. Community engagement, as I said, the need for this design direction has been asked for by the community. It was in the 100 plan, it is in the 100 plan in action. It continues to come up as property owners come forward and express their desire to work with the city to redevelop. So the community support is well documented, and community members will be engaged from start to finish and really have the opportunity to share their photos, stories, and histories as we go through this process together. Just a clarification, and again, a reminder, this is about, not being a requirement. So we are really looking to inspire through this guidebook. It's a catalog of ideas and options to support respectful development in the West Side, and is meant to inspire people to invest in the community. The final guidebook will be adopted by Planning Commission and City Council, but will still be voluntary for everybody. And who benefits? Well, we really see it as two primary groups benefiting from the guidebook. Number one, the community, because they'll seek respectful development that's mindful to the history and existing scale of the community. And two, existing property owners. And again, you heard a lot of these property owners in the area.
Excuse me, Ms. Gallus, could you hold on one second? Madam Clerk, would you ask who's ever online to mute their sound, please?
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Coffin, could you please mute your phones? We're getting a lot of feedback and sound. Thank you.
Your Honor, I just took off the speaker. Did that remove the outside sound?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. But stay attached to us.
Yes, you can just unmute your phone when you wish to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillis. Please
Yes.
go continue.
No problem. We also recognize that the guidebook will benefit existing property owners, most of whom are very small property owners, most of whom are legacy owners in this community who don't have a significant amount of development experience and are looking for some guidance in how that process happens. It is not a tool that enables developers. In fact, if anything, it requires that bigger, more institutional developers conform to the needs of the community as they come in. And it's actually one of the many tools in our anti-displacement toolbox because we see it as a way to help support local small folks be able to develop and keep their property and gain wealth of their property over the years as they build and open businesses there. We will create nuanced approaches for residential versus commercial versus mixed use, and we'll also be able to explore sub-areas in the larger historic West Side as well that may be defined by certain character definitions. So again, the guidelines are really about marrying the old and the new. I just kind of wanted to share a visual example of good practice and how this can turn out. What you're looking at here on your screen is 400 Jackson Avenue, so the corner of D and Jackson. And this is the future home of the Historic West Side Health and Wellness Center. And the city owns this parcel and has been designing the Wellness Center with the community and been very intentional about an effort to design a building that is reflective of, but not a replica of, the building that once stood there. So this is the famous Carver House that once stood on that exact site that you see. And this is the proposed design for the Health and Wellness Center. And we think this is a beautiful example of architecture, which again is not a rebuild of what was there. It also is not incredibly modern, but it's somewhere in the middle, in that the fonts and the design and the structure itself reflect some of the type of architecture you would have seen in the historic West Side in its heyday. So design guidebooks can take on a lot of different forms. I just want to say we haven't predetermined what the outcome of this is. KME and Chattel have their own examples of work. What you're seeing here are different examples. I've been involved in overlays and guidebooks and design requirements in places that are both historic and in places that have very little in the built environment that we're building up from new. And they both can be very informative in terms of ensuring a cohesive vibe and look and feel for a community over the long term. So with that, I will stop, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive and very exciting, looking forward. So comments, questions, if I might. Member Stodahl, please.
A couple of, first of all, you're certainly going to have my vote to approve. And that last image of the Carver House answered several of my questions. That there is going to be, within the design guidelines, a lot of artistic license to understand and to do that. But a couple of questions that I had. Oftentimes, quite often, what is the geographical boundaries of the historic West Side has been discussed and debated and argued, and it's expanded to some degree over the years. I don't know if we can show that map.
Yeah, I'm not sure who can bring, I tried to go back, but it just went off the screen. If we can go back to the actual boundary map of the West Side.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The one boundary we know for sure is the railroad tracks, because that was, now, so I'm wondering why this map shows it going down all the way to Main Street.
So these are the defined boundaries, and I might see if Mike Howe or somebody else wants to reflect on these as our planning boundaries that were presented for the historic West Side.
My point is that all of our energy should be focused on the historic West Side community, and we all know that I-15 gutted the eastern edge of it, 2nd and 1st Street. That said, the railroad tracks are east side, west side. So to me, that should be the boundary. But there may be some logical reason why it's extended east to Main Street, which is not the original 2nd. A question, and these are not in order, just from my notes. If and when, and likely this will be approved, when would you see the first report coming back to this commission with some sort of an update?
Can we go to the timeline slide? If you go backwards, there you go. Oop, nope, you were on it. There you go. So I think we had identified in part 3 that there would be an interim report to the commission. So that would have to happen sometime between August and October of next year. So that assumes the work gets started in January, which is kind of through that timeline.
One of the challenges that we have with historic West Side is a lot of the history visually is from the 1940s. Very little from the 30s, very little from the 20s and the teens. And the 20s, of course, is when the school was built, 1923. So I would hope that there is some understanding that the history of the West Side does not begin in 1940.
Yes.
And I know it's a challenge but there were ranches and farms that were there. And I'm not sure how you mix that into an urban environment as we have today, but to really reflect the history of West Side, which is really important to have a solid foundation. I just ask you to kind of keep that in mind, that the important history of West Side, really 1940 and on, yes, but let's not see if we can not ignore the previous from 1905 to about 1920. With that picture of the Carver House, you answered about 20 of my questions because this is an artistic interpretation and guidelines, and you also indicated these are not going to be mandatory, I suspect.
They will not be mandatory.
Okay. And it will cover both commercial and residential.
And mixed use as well.
And mixed use as well. And there will be some focus on the history of Jackson Street.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and if you would...
Madam Mayor, this is Hannah Brown. Can I make a comment, tag on to Bob's concern about the boundary?
Yes, please, go ahead, Member Brown. And Member Coffin, again, mute your phone, please. We're getting a feedback.
Okay.
I'm not sure he knows how to mute it. Or move out of under the swimming pool. Yes, please go ahead, Member Brown.
Okay, my family moved here in 1945, and the west side at that time, from Bonanza to Harrison, and from A to 8th Street. And you know that's the area that I grew up in. It was 1.5 miles square at the time. I just wanted to add that to Bob's comments about the boundary.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's so noted. Will be in our minutes. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Senator, please. Make sure your phone's on. Good.
Yes, this is very good news. I think all of us who have lived here in the community look forward to the day that West Side can be redeveloped. The question I have is, you've listed a number of commitments, or in some way an indication, and you listed them all out there. And I ask, number one, not to question the integrity of any part of the presentation, but having grown up here, I mean, I can recall when the plan was Howard Hughes is going to build a helicopter plant where Summerlin is today. That did not come to pass, obviously. And so I guess the first question I really have, what is the nature of these commitments? Has an escrow been opened up? Are signed agreements made with each of the developers and the contractors that are going to work? So just a thumbnail. I don't mean a 10-minute presentation, but what kind of commitments?
Sure. Well, let me start by saying that when I came on board to work with Councilman Creer in the city on implementing the 100 Plan, which if you've seen the 100 Plan, it is several hundred pages of brilliant ideas and vision, but nothing that happens overnight. Sure. And so when we started the conversation about implementing that, and we had a lot of talks with the community and with city leadership, it was really about where do you catalyze investment? That's where you start in a community like this. Because we weren't looking to create a redevelopment area and give it over to a developer. We were looking for community-led neighborhood revitalization that would build up from the fabric and from the community that was there. So a lot of the investments that have been initially made, that are being initially made, are being city-driven. The city owned a lot of assets over there and has partnered with others like CSN to build a workforce training center, and Roseman, who is working on the healthcare center. And so they have been sort of collaborative partnerships. The private sector investments that we talked about today, so the SHARE project is the first big one. That will be, as I said, 104 units, 5 stories, and that was a partnership in which the city put the land and some financing into the package, but it is a private developer deal. He is building and primarily financing the development himself. That is done, and it'll break ground in the first part of 2024. And then we have about 14 smaller lot infill developments that will either be single family or duplexes, or we have one that's sort of a larger block that we don't know yet the total build out, but it'll be multiple units on that block. And those were all also city owned lots that had been acquired over time and were RFP'd out to developers, and the city's working with them. So they are all right now in various stages of entitlement. But again, the city is putting the land in the deal, and in some cases, some other incentives where appropriate, but they are all being privately financed by those developers themselves.
And these are significant. I'm not trying to minimize, but I'm just trying to dig just a little deeper. These strike me as being wonderful projects, but somewhat aspirational. In other words, do we have any signed agreements with the private sectors which are partnering with the city on some of these plans? Any escrows that are opened? Where are we in that process?
We have, Sam Cherry is breaking ground on the SHARE project in February.
Okay.
That is a signed deal, it's done, and he is
Been through all
financing.
permitting, everything.
Any more of those? But that's the type of thing I'm...
Yeah, so the 14 lots that I talked about, they're releasing the lots in 3 phases and entitling them as they go. So I can't tell you, I know that there are about 5 or 6 of them that are somewhere in the finalizing the entitlement and permitting process, and then the others are kind of behind that, and then the final 5 will be released via RFP sometime in the next 6 to 9 months.
I'm not trying to be cynical here, but I've been to a few rodeos in my time, and there are wonderful aspirational things that we all would love to have, but for whatever reason, the economy, national I'm talking about, goes down the toilet, and those things are postponed. I think we're actually going to see the Fontainebleau open.
Thank you. I would like to ask.
For a lot of time.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't mean to take up your time. Thank you very much for your answers.
And I know we have a couple of more questions, but the property that's proposed for religious sites, what is the city, and perhaps Mike or Seth can answer this, those particular properties, will they ultimately go out? It says proposed religious property, proposed, not already owned.
Oh, I think what you're seeing on the map is there was some, when we did the map, Mike, there were some sites that we aren't 100% sure if they're owned by religious entities. Okay. They're sort of unknowns that we're trying to get to the bottom of, and Mike and his team have been digging a little bit further on that.
Okay, so you will get back to us on those particular ownerships or whatever you find out within a reasonable length of time?
Yes, Madam Mayor. A lot of it came from the tax coding information that goes with the parcel. So it was coming in getting taxed as religious, but some of the properties aren't even developed, so there isn't something on it. Okay. They could be owned by churches.
Because I think those are wonderful pieces of property that didn't know if there was an interest, and coming from Ward 5, would that be by the city or ultimately trying to go through the county on that and the property listings?
And Madam Mayor, if I may, to add to that, we've had discussions with the churches, and I think a lot of times people assume churches just behave as churches, but we've had discussions where churches are looking at bringing commercial and affordable housing into the parcels that they own, because that is something that they could do.
Thank you very much. Councilman Creer, if you would, and back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One, I'm in full support of this item. And to sort of give Senator Bryan a little summary, we, in the past 5 years, we have made a tremendous strides in a number of areas. One being the opening of our Strong Future Technology Center, which is a training facility for STEM fields for our youth, also for our active adults, sponsored by a grant from Cox Communications. Next door to there will be our Workforce Development Center. We received the largest EDA grant in the history of our state of $6.9 million from the Department of Commerce to build out the Workforce Development Center with CSN, which is going to train people in construction, manufacturing, information technology, and healthcare. Right across the street from there, we have the Stamp Cherry Project, which is going to happen, which is 104 units of affordable housing. We've stood up our urban farm in conjunction with MGM Resorts, who has given us a $500,000 grant in order to get the first phase one of our urban farm, which is helping dispel our health and food insecurity within our community. We're giving out hundreds of pounds of fresh leafy greens to our active adults in our community. We're in the process of, we just completed a Complete Street program on Jackson Avenue of $7 million. We're going to start another Complete Street program on Lake Mead to the tune of a little bit over $20 million. We have another Complete Street program going on Washington, about $3 million, thanks to Congressman Horsford. Marble Manor, which is an affordable housing facility, received a Choice Neighborhood grant from HUD, which is the first phase of that. We're going to repurpose that entire facility. We're going to tear it down, build a brand new facility, and double the capacity of that. We're going to break ground, hopefully next month or so, on a brand new library, $40+ million in conjunction with the Clark County and Las Vegas Library Association, that is going to revitalize that entire area right in Enterprise Park, where the Starbucks is, right next to our fairly new now historic Westside Legacy Park, which is taking place. Across the street, Mario's is going to open up a brand new facility, which is going to, we're in a food desert. We don't have a quality grocery facility there. It's going to double in capacity. It's going to allow it to have a bakery, offer more goods to our community, and the brand new facility is taking place there. We've had a number of investments of businesses, Westside Oasis, number of housing development projects that are taking place. We had an RFP that we sent out to the community for 4 to 8 units or so, and we've had a response for that for design build to build out 4 parcels of housing. We've had new housing that have already been built within the community. We had another affordable housing unit that opened up recently right on Jefferson and F Street, I believe that's right there, E Street right there. They just opened up. So I hear you in terms of pipe dreams, but one of the things that's important is that this plan is called the Plan in Action, because we are actually doing what we said we're going to do. We're making tremendous strides in a very, very short period of time. So what you see is not just talk. We probably have about $200 million of the infrastructure plans in place for underground, for public works, that are on the books that get going. We've had investments of about $70-80 million already, with another $70-80 million to come. So we are past the phase of just pipe dream and just talking about it. We are actually doing about it, and we are making tremendous projects. We have business owners here on Jackson who have been stagnant in their thoughts about what they want to do with their projects. We have a lot of movement from business owners who are looking to develop housing, get businesses going along Jackson, where I used to get my hair cut. And so we're popping. Maybe we'll see what's going to happen with the Harlem Nights project on the corner of Jackson and F Street. They have plans to develop a hotel, casino, condominium facility right there. So there's a lot going on. That's just the top of my head, the things I just think about every night. But we're moving forward.
And you've been doing a great job.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Member Stoddard, please.
One last question. The challenge with the map is the community, the culture of a community does not recognize a street or a city geographical. Are we talking to North Las Vegas at all? I mean, West Side extends beyond Owens north. Any conversations with North Las Vegas at all for this project?
We have not had conversations yet, but what I will say about this initiative is it won't per se be defined by a singular boundary, a singular era in the evolution of the historic West Side. Again, back to kind of the example that you talked about, that we shared about Carver House, is what we're looking for is some some reflection from the community of what they hold dear and what they value, what the historic West Side looks like to them in their hearts, and how that is actualized as we go forward into the future. And so it'll be a process and an evolution. It won't be defined by hard lines, and I think also there'll be different nodes and areas within that geographic boundary that may celebrate something different or celebrate a different part of the narrative of the historic West Side.
Yeah, as part of what your plan is, you're going to have community meetings and so forth. I would just hope that there's a community meeting with the communities that's north of Owen.
Certainly.
And maybe work with the city of North Las Vegas.
I think that was the intent from the beginning, to be comprehensive. We're so proud of our diversity and inclusionary attitude here, and really wanted a celebration of peoples and neighborhoods, culture, all of it, but definitely historic West Side in its grander sense. So I do see Member Mowbray.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
And it's seconded by Member Stoddall. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And one more aye on the phone? Only one.
I did vote yes.
Okay, great. And please post. We're trying.
I had my phone on mute, but I voted aye.
No, you're doing a very good job. We can hear you and everything. The computer's what's a little bit ill and slow.
Everyone
It's
aye?
circling.
No nays, right?
No nays, unanimous. Ms. Gillis, you're doing a great job. We're just really grateful for everything you've been doing in Las Vegas this past time. So
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's my honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 8, 230471 CLC1, update by staff from the National Atomic Testing Museum located at 755 East Flamingo Road regarding the status of the museum, and it would have been my hope that I would have been taking the address and saying it's in the confines of the city. Not yet. Hello.
Madam Mayor, members of the Commission, Brian McAnallen on behalf of the National Atomic Testing Museum, now branded as the Atomic Museum. So you may start to see a new logo and a new name out there for us.
Not the National Atomic Testing, that we got that name 8 years ago.
We'll still hold that title as the National Atomic Testing Museum, but we're trying to broaden our brand a little bit. I'd like to introduce our new Executive Director, Rob McCoy, a face that you probably all know from his extensive experience in our community, and he's been with the museum just over a year now. And we'll bring Rob on to make a few comments. He can address the issue about the brand, and we can update you on the status of the museum.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi there.
Long time no see. I hope your summer was a good one. Our summer at the Atomic Museum was magnificent. We hitched our proverbial wagon to a little Hollywood film called Oppenheimer, and it worked to perfection. And I think the most heartwarming thing for me this summer was watching our average age of museum visitor plummet. The scores of folks in their 20s and 30s who came and saw us this summer was really heartwarming. It was great to see. Mayor, if I may just briefly address the branding. This is very similar to the Mob Museum, which, as we know, is the National Museum of Law Enforcement and Organized Crime. Same with us. It's a National Atomic Testing Museum, but for marketing purposes, it's the Atomic Museum. So it's that simple.
Thank you.
The museum is doing well. We had a record July and a record August. We are currently reimagining what this museum will look like in the future. It will celebrate its 20th birthday in 2025, and beginning next summer, you will begin seeing new exhibits. We're calling this campaign Reimagine. We're going to reimagine in our current location, but what is important to this discussion today is that our overarching design principle is that the new museum will be 90% portable. So when we find the appropriate location downtown, let me reinforce that, downtown, we will be able to pick up and move. We think it's the efficient way to do this. Unfortunately, we've looked at 5 sites in downtown. 2 of those preceded me. One, as you know, was right across from the Smith Center. There's a lot there. The other was the Lead building, which we spent the most time on. And then I also looked at the bus station at the plaza. Thank you, Jonathan, for that. The former planning department, your former planning department, at the corner of Gas and Las Vegas Boulevard, across from Pawn Stars. And then finally, we take a look at the retail space that backs up to Vegas Vicks in Symphony Park. All of them had good things about them, but they just were not what we needed. And so we're still in search of that location. I would love to be in touch with each and every one of you to see if you have an idea about where we should be located. We have to have visibility, and we have to have foot traffic, and it has to be economical. So that's where we're at as a museum. Things are going well. We would like to be downtown to be next. I call our 3 indigenous museums, no city in the world has Mob, Neon, or Atomic. Those are indigenous to us and our history. I call them the 3 amigos. So this amigo wants to be close to the other 2 amigos, and hopefully we will get there. Questions, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCoy. Any comments, questions, other than certainly support for your hopes? I know that we have felt that way. We also have Showgirl. We have so many museums of amenities and artifacts of our history, and they need to be in the downtown area.
Agreed.
So as we continue to do that, but I know you're at least safe with the lease on your property for the time being.
Yes, that's
And so that as we hear, and Mr. Floyd down there, please keep your eyes open, and Mike as well, everybody, because we certainly would love that. But thank you for your presentation.
Just a
and,
quick comment,
Mr.
Stoll, for the record. Thank you for your planning ahead with the concept of making it 90% portable. That's very a great move, and when the opportunity comes, you'll be able to take advantage of it much quickly. Much quickly? Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, and the hopes you're reaching out with the federal representatives
We
for
are.
us, and Councilwoman Titus has always been there for us for years, along with Senator Bryan, who was every one of those meetings made an effort to get the federal government to fund this.
In fact, our newest exhibit, which will launch next June and July, Fusion, Fission, and Radiation, is directly related to Congresswoman Titus, who helps us secure a $2 million Department of Education grant.
Yeah,
So
there's
she's been a
nothing-
great partner.
Well, and there is nothing like a great movie. I know Casino certainly helped the Mob Museum, but certainly with Oppenheimer, that should be triggering more and more interest as people see it, and whether they see it on Netflix or wherever. It's really important, and certainly for us here. So, an interest now on new things in New Mexico.
Yes.
So hopefully we keep out there and keep in front and keep pushing this. It needs to get down here. So any other comment, question? That was a report only. Something else to put out there in front of your wonderful exhibit?
Mayor, if I could just close and thank you for the support of this commission for our grant that we received. We used that for our Trinity exhibit, and that helps explain the need for testing and the need for testing in Nevada. And we appreciate the support we've been given by this commission, as well as what we've received from Congresswoman Titus and the entire Nevada delegation. And we continue to reach out to our legislators up north and seek support for our relocation efforts as well. So I just wanted to convey to you that we're looking under every stone that we can for support for the future of the museum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes.
Out of curiosity, since we're talking about locations, how many square footage? What are we looking for?
I think optimally it would be about 30,000 square feet.
Okay.
You know, the current gallery is about 8,500 square feet, but with add-ons we're at about 10,000 square feet. Then you have offices, and one of our true desires in the new reimagination of this museum is that we have a dedicated space for STEM. So all of our exhibits going forward are going to be 100% STEM and 100% interactive. And so STEM is a very important part of the new museum.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Great question. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McAnally. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 9, 230472 CLC1. Final report by staff from the City of Las Vegas Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs Department regarding the completion of the 2023 Eldorado Days Parade funded by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and Commission members. I'm Marja Bigas, City of Las Vegas Parks and Recreation.
Can you do that again and closer to the mic, because we're having trouble hearing up here.
Marja Bigas, City of Las Vegas Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs. I am the Special Events Administrator and Parade Organizer.
Good afternoon, Melissa Fredrickson, Management Analyst with the Special Events Unit.
Wonderful.
So we are here to give a recap of the 2023 Eldorado Days Parade, and here is a quick video of that.
Here in Eldorado, man.
So this year we went back to the Eldorado Days name that we all know and love. Channel 13 broadcasted the parade live for the first time and replayed it again during the evening. We had 110 entries, which included 24 different school entries. There were 30 more entries this year than the previous year, and I think that had a lot to do with the name going back to their original name. We plan to continue our outreach efforts to engage more of our Las Vegas business owners to join this tradition.
Overall, a very positive component of this event is the support we're able to offer our schools. This year, $30,000 in financial contributions were made to the schools. 17 school clubs and groups participated, which also included award-winning high school bands. This money is actually used to help them with travel expenses for competitions, equipment, and any other club activities they may need it for. Additionally, some of the groups that participated were marching bands. We had some ROTC groups, some cheer groups, choir, sports, esports this year, and we even had a broadcasting group that joined us. The target audience for the 2023 Eldorado Days Parade was geared towards being family-friendly and showcasing the diverse population in Las Vegas, which inviting all residents. A marketing plan was executed to target adults 35 plus, inclusive of all demographics, with a slight skew to women and families. We actually added performers at key areas of the route to interact with the crowd and add a little extra Vegas flair.
So that concludes our report for this year's parade.
Thank you. Questions?
Please.
Commissioner Stodo.
Trying to be diplomatic in the parade, which was wonderful. But the parade celebrates, misses a large part of our history, and the celebration is from the 40s and the 50s on, with Elvis coming here in 57 and the cowboys and cowgirls and really the pretend years of El Dorado in the 40s. The funding for the parade comes out of historic preservation money and historic preservation education funding. It'd be a way to encourage some floats or something that have to do with the building of the dam, which in the 30s, which was so important to the building of Las Vegas, and even before that, the railroad, which is why the community is here to begin with, railroad, water, and the dam. So if there's some way we could encourage that, it would be great. But the parade and all the work you've been putting into it, I think, has been successful. But if we could add a little more history to it, it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and again, I want to say thank you to Senator Bryan that we got the name back. Having your report talk about the difference in the entry, it will do nothing but grow, because nobody knew what Las Vegas Days Parade was. And thank you, Senator Bryan, to everything you did to get it back. Really important. And that was your report, but you're also here for agenda item 10.
Right.
With Dr. C. Brandt involved in that, or just theirs? Okay. 230415 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of a grant request for $392,000 by the City of Las Vegas, acting by and through its Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs for the production of the 2024 and 2025 El Dorado Days Parade, and authorizing the President to execute the grant agreement as approved by the City Attorney. And I would add to this is at the suggestion, I think, of Member Creer, who had suggested we try to look at 2-year productions and grants so that at least you can move forward and get some planning done. So do you want to speak to this? God bless you, whoever's sneezing on the phone. Didn't sound like a man sneeze. It sounded like Member Brown. Who keeps sneezing? God bless you anyway. All right, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon again, Melissa Frederickson, Management Analyst, Special Events Unit. We are requesting $196,000 for production of the 2024 and $196,000 for 2025 El Dorado Days Parade. The parade will include school entries, local artists, and entertainment. Schools that enter and participate will receive $1,500, and local artists will receive $1,000.
And we are asking for both years, again, as you said, with Councilman Creer's direction. That does help us plan ahead and then get this on the school's calendar.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second that.
And there's a second coming from Member Mowbray. And all in favor signify by aye, please.
Aye. Aye.
And how are you on
Bob
the
Coughlin
phone?
says aye. Bob Coughlin, aye.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Brown?
Yes, yes, I keep forgetting to take my phone off you, but yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And please, any opposed? I think we covered everybody. Please post. And there it is. Thank you very much. Councilman Creer had to leave, I guess. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of everything. And again, thank you, Senator Bryan. Just what a difference. All right, agenda item 11, 230473 CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of grant modification number 1 concerning Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial Grant number 220506 CLC1 to As We Knew It LLC for the costs associated with transferring and digitizing 324 videotapes containing recorded oral histories from their original Betacam SP masters to uncompressed MOV files and providing hard drives with digital files and transcripts to the Nevada State Museum, Las Vegas, UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, special collections in the Clark County Museum, and authorizing president to execute the grant agreement is approved by the city attorney. Hello.
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 Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Zook, and this is Jonathan Strump, and we're from As We Knew It, and why we're asking for a 6-month extension.
Okay, we've made some pretty good progress so
Okay,
far.
you want to go right into the mic? Thank
Okay.
you.
We've made some pretty good progress to date. All the files have been digitized. We have them in our possession. We have both high-res and low-res files, actually the viewing copies. Iron Mountain took a little bit longer to do their work than they originally led us to believe. So we lost 2 months. But that said, I'd rather have a good job of digitizing done than something done fast. The files we've examined so far look pretty good. So I'm pretty pleased with what we've got. So what Iron Mountain provided us, if we can go back one slide, is a interesting file structure on a very large hard drive that they set it up by boxes. To them, tapes came in a box. We're going to say this box are these tapes. Doesn't mean much to the rest of us. So what we're going to move forward to is an expanded file structure with everyone's name. So it'll be last name first and all the people involved in the interviews. There's 135. Let's go on to the raw files. Iron Mountain did a pretty good job. Everything is named. Everything has some of the details that we need, so that's a good beginning. Moving on. Wow. So we're going to create individual folders by name. Inside will be the high-resolution files, the .movs. Their release form will be present in another folder. The transcripts will be present in another folder. And then the viewing copies will be present in yet another folder. So everything will be organized, and what the museums get, they don't have to think too much. It's all in one nice, neat package. So there will be the high-res files named appropriately, along with the viewing copies named appropriately, and with a PICON showing the person interviewed. The transcripts look like this. They're primitive yet very handy. They will be rich text files, readable in any word processor. They also have time code information where each file has time code associated with it, where the questions were given and the interview answers were responded, so that it makes it a little bit easier for people moving forward to find in that file where the actual comments are. It's also sort of the beginning of a database. Next, we have the release form, pretty standard boilerplate, but it'll prove that everyone involved in the interviews gave their consent. We have not done anything untoward here. So to sum up, 135 interviews ended up giving us 324 videotapes, which is 110 hours of interviews, which breaks down to 324 high-resolution files, 324 viewing copy files, 324 transcript files, one per tape, and the fun part, 7,300 pages of transcriptions. The reason I mention that, we're also going to proofread those, because we want to make certain names are spelled correctly, everything is as it should be. Our position is we get one chance and one chance only to do this process and this project. We want it to be right, because once we hand it off, it's out of our hands. And that's what I've got.
Yeah, so we plan to have this all finished by the end of March and come back here with a complete report, and, that will be that.
And if you could explain what is the grant modification number 1 to this grant?
Well, it's just, Diane Seaborn for the record, it's the first modification for this grant. So we can do multiple modifications if the grantee does request.
But it is not additional funding.
No, it's a no-cost extension, just the
Okay.
extension to March.
Thank you. Thank you, and yes, Member Stoto.
First of all, I'm excited to see this and certainly support the need for the delay or understand the need. The 7,351 pages of transcripts, do we know how either the video or the transcripts will be used by either UNLV or the State Museum? Will they put these on their website and the public can access these? Or do we need to go to the university or to the museum to watch these?
We're in talks with Special Collections and the State Museum regarding that. We don't have a final answer at this time, but it is our fervent hope that this collection will be readily available to everybody.
Our main concern in this project was getting it off the videotape where it's a little bit tenuous and get it nailed down to where we can hand it off to others.
And I agree with that. To me, there's a two-step process here. What you are doing, and then potentially the cost of making this available to the general public. It would be wonderful if the 7,351 pages of those transcripts, and there's some unique interviews that are in there, if they are made word searchable, that really makes them available to the to the general public. So in your conversations with them, I know they don't have millions of dollars in their bank accounts, either the museum or special collections, but there's a phase one, getting them permanently preserved and then making them accessible to the public. So there may be another opportunity for special collections or the museum to come back to here, because these are preserving Las Vegas history. So thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this is a report only, and I gather no cost. So we thank you very much for what you're doing, and have a good rest of week.
Excuse me, Chair. This is
an action item?
yes,
It
it
is
is
an
an action item. Yes.
To approve, oh, it is a grant modification, even though
Move to
there's no
approve.
addition. Thank you. And a second. All in favor signify by aye.
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 And Member Brown, aye.
Yes, aye.
Thank you.
Member Coffin?
Yes, he did.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and if you would, any opposed? No, and there it is posted. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, that carries. So we're on to agenda item 12-230450, CLC1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of a grant request of $450,000, Plaza Hotel and Casino, for the production of the 2024, 2025, and 2026 Las Vegas Days Rodeo, and authorizing the president to execute the grant agreement is approved by the city attorney. All words. Happy New Year.
Are we live?
Hello, you are live always.
Where's Sarah? Come on, Sarah. Come on up.
She says, I don't have my own microphone. You'll have to share.
Just share with me. Well, I'm Jonathan Joss. I'm the CEO of the Plaza. You have Natasha here, who's the Director of Marketing. And you have
excellent.
Michelle here, who's the Vice President of Sales, Catering, and the Core Arena. And Sarah, who's our Marketing Manager. It's her first time up here with us.
Hi.
And Governor, I heard you say this was your first rodeo on the previous, or one of the earlier ones. This is not our first rodeo here. So I don't know if you want us to revisit the history of why we're here, but today I believe was to bring a budget up here, and we've given the presentation quite a few times, so I think everyone knows why we're here, but the reason for the updated hearing is we took guidance from Councilman Creer over there in terms of making this a 3-year application so we can build this brand, continue to more successfully operate it, and not have to come here every year requesting this, so that we have the tools to actually build this up, and we're not waiting till a couple of months prior wondering if we're going to be doing it or not. So that's why we're here. We gave a budget showing the reduction in support that we would be looking for to do it. And again, I think the previous, with the parade, the concept of why this is happening and has been happening since 1935, I don't need to tell all of you because you know it a lot better than me. So we have the budget. There it is in front of you. Oh, is this the one with my handwritten notes on it? Do you want one without the handwritten notes? But everyone, I hope, has already had that. There is the budget. So the prior times we've done this, it's been $200,000. We're going to reduce it to $150,000 and then down to $100,000 based on the ability to know we're doing this, sell tickets, and get more sponsorship money to make it a little more self-sustainable. So that's the goal, and hopefully we have your support.
Wonderful. Comments, questions from anyone here?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, please, Member Creer.
Thank you. I was the one that recommended this. As Jonathan stated, I just really think that what they're doing, they've taken ownership of the parade. They have been great stewards of the resources that they have been given. It is a great event that takes place on behalf of the entire community. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of activities taking place. And from putting on events in the past and being the director of marketing of a property and hosting events, you need to know that you have the resources there in order to properly plan and to properly forecast where you're going to go to even make it better. And so I'm in full support of this because I think that we need to help support our partners to help build up, to continue to help build up the downtown corridor, which is vitally important. I think you guys play a vital role in that. So I want to thank you for all you're doing and for taking on the challenge.
And therefore you will make a motion?
I will make a motion for approval.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Got a question. How are we going to disperse this, like a construction control account, year by year, a year? Or is it going to all be in one lump sum?
Okay,
Steve Brent for the record. No, they have to actually provide us the receipts.
Reimbursement.
So, right, because it's all reimbursement, and so it's just, again, we're earmarking this money for the 3 years, just like for the parade and every other grant that this commission approves. And then once they submit their receipts, then we reimburse them. So for 2024, they get the 2024 money, 2025, and so on and so forth.
That answers that. The next question is, will we be given we'll be given an accounting so that if we go over the 200,000 for 2024, we can address it at that time?
Well, if the grant agreement is a legal binding document that says they cannot go over that amount, so the amount that is approved is the amount that they're reimbursed, and if anybody that does get a grant for us goes above and beyond that money, we do not reimburse it. We only reimburse it for what the grant agreement says.
That's our understanding. We've covered it in the past when it's gone over that. We've covered the difference.
And I think that might be a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Now,
Mayor
on the phone,
supersedes the
please. Are you?
Aye.
And Commissioner Coffin?
I'm an aye. Thank you. With Councilman Creer all the way.
Okay, all in favor? And any opposed? Motion carries. You have to know, you tell your children when it's done. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
No, good luck, and thank you, Commissioner Creer, for that. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 13-230474 CLC1. Final report by staff from Nevada Preservation Foundation regarding the 2023 Home and History event funded by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Goodman and esteemed commissioners. We have our first Up for
And
our...
can you pull the mic down closer?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. Please.
I'm Amy Raymer. I'm one of the board members of the Nevada Preservation Foundation, and I have with me
Susie Van Ness. I'm program director.
And we're going to start with the overview of 2023 for our Home and History event, which was held in April, the last weekend of April of this past year, or during this year. I guess that's me. Well, thank you very much for having us here today to give you kind of a recap. As we have moved through 2023, our Home and History 2023, which was our 8th Home and History, we were really excited this year to expand a lot of our programming, and we also really cultivated our partnerships. So some of these city-specific tours that were new to us this year, Bricks Behind the Murals, we looked at the 18B kind of area, and the art that's on the bricks there. So we had Paco come out, he created that tour for us, and we were able to share that with our guests as well. Of Scotsman and Mayors was the walk and talk of the Scotch 80s neighborhood, and so that was our first walking tour that we've been able to get in and kind of show around and talk about some of the pieces that happen, some of the history behind that particular area. One of our other board members back here, we've got Mitch Cohen, who is out here in front of our motels. We did the Motel Madness, the rise and fall of the mid-century motor court. That tour was, again, very, very popular. We got a a lot of people talking about that as well too. And so that was one of our newer pieces here. We partnered with UNLV Public History. I've got Paige back here, who is she's worked with that, and she took a big role with us this year. And they took a look at the Hoover Dam by day, Block 16 by night. We were able to offer that at the Mob Museum, so we were able to share that with our folks as well too. That was a fun one. We also added the Huntridge neighborhood. We had a walking tour, and we were able to work with Dapper Corporation to get into the Huntridge. So our folks who took the walking tour also had an opportunity to see some of the things that are happening at Huntridge. So again, another one of our pieces that we offered there. One of the exciting ones that we had, we're incorporating the arts in here as well too. We had Zoe Camper, the Las Vegas influence on absolutely everything. So really looking at kind of the clothing and art and connection to Las Vegas. Then we had the Mid-Mod Madness. We've had that in the past, but one of the things that we did this year with Mid-Mod Madness, we connected the Charleston Heights neighborhood. So we gave a kind of a background on Charleston Heights. This is the first time that we've included that in our tours. And then additionally, we went into McNeil. We also had an opportunity to go through Beverly Green, and then through John S. Park as well too. So I kind of gave folks an opportunity to see what mid-century looked like, and continues to look like. Additionally, this year we were excited to include our story app, which is part of what the grant included last year. So that was one of those things where we're still kind of learning how to use it and whatnot, but we were able to take 3 of our tours and add that to be a self-driving tour. So if if it was too hot, you didn't want to do a bus tour, that kind of thing, you could do the app guided tour as well. So that was one of our pieces that are there. One of the other things that we did, our offices are in the historic West Side School. So one of the things that we included this year was we brought in our realtors to talk about the tricks of the trade, the vintage home buying. So that was a great discussion that happened, and those connections, and what do you need to know about buying older homes, and how can we start to kind of make those connections so we can get that preservation piece there. So with that.
So here we wanted to go over our success for 2023. So I've got Home and History 2023 by the numbers. We sold 1,200 tickets. We got 20 plus earned media hits. We got attendees from 12 different states. There was a total of 48 events over 3 days, and we got more than 2,300 volunteer hours. We also, as we have in the past, did a survey, and 96% of the respondents said that they were extremely or very likely to attend again, and then 95% were happy with the website that we had built.
Nice. One of the things that we really pushed during Home and History was making sure that we had a connection to the license plates that fund these projects. So we included that in most of our marketing material. Those are things whenever you went on a tour, we had those handouts. And then additionally, our home tour, which is one of our biggest events, during our home tour, they were in the bag, kind of the swag bag that we gave out to the folks. And again, the Dapper Corporation, they did allow us to use the Huntridge parking lot to do the staging for that as well too. So as people rolled through, we shared that with them and tried to make those connections of like, hey, do you have those on your car? Those kinds of things.
So we've done that for the past several years, but this year we actually were very active in looking at that and creating that as part of the marketing plan. So as you can see, we have 3,000 eyeballs that we got on the license plate. So we're pretty happy with that.
And then additionally, the next weekend, we joined the El Dorado Parade as one of the entrants for the El Dorado Parade. And I will say that we were very, very inspired and, looking at everybody else's parade items. So this year as we go in, we've got all kinds of ideas of how we're going to blow everybody's doors off of. So we're very excited, provided we get the funding. So like I said, we're really excited to connect with that as well. So that is our kind of our wrap up of the 2023 Home and History. Again, thank you very much to the Commission. This past year was the largest amount that we have requested, and we were able to build a lot of programming this previous year that really focused heavily on the city of Las Vegas in particular. Again, we did have other events in the county. We tried to keep that as far out of the presentation as we could, but we really wanted to make sure that there was a focus on the city and within that programming that we created.
And so you are tied with, right now, that's item 13. We have 14. Unless you have questions or comments at this point, we'll move into 14, which is hello, you're coming back for some money.
Yep.
So, if any questions? He's great. You already moved to approve. Okay, agenda item 14, 230455, CLC 1, discussion for possible action regarding approval of a grant request for $168,225 by the Nevada Preservation Foundation for the planning and running of the 2024 Home and History event, and authorizing the president to execute the grant agreement as approved by the city attorney, all wards. And so as I look to my right for questions, yes, ma'am, please.
This is Louise Helton for the record. I was just wanting to see, you reported 1,200 attendees at this year's event. How many were at last year's event, which was your inaugural event?
Do you have the PowerPoint for the second?
For the 2024, yeah, and scroll it.
That's me. That's our list.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Here.
So as you can see here, we had a significant growth. We, due to the pandemic, did not offer Home and History during 2021. However, like I said, in 2022, it was kind of a last minute. We went for it, and so we had about 515. And then this upcoming year, again, this previous year, about 1,200. Again, our big push this year was on building the content, and as we can discuss now or wait until we get to that part, however you want to do it. For 2024, because we have a little bit more of a ramp up, really focusing more on the advertising and making sure that we get it all out there. So now we have that opportunity now to grow it even farther.
So in 2019, we were at the 1,400, and that was really our ideal marketing push, where we started in October. And we have that marketing plan built from there. Last year, we weren't able to do that, so we couldn't push the out-of-state as much as we would have liked to. So that's now our strategy this year, is to reinitiate that, kind of what you guys are all talking about as far as understanding we have that money in advance, so that we know we can go out and start planning ahead of time. So that's why we were trying to get in here quick this year.
Okay, well, just looking at your goals for your attendance, based on the 1,200 in attendance this year, that would be like $140 a person that our grant paid for this event. Once you're moving...
I'm sorry, it would be $140?
$140. If you take 168,000, divide it by the 1,200 people that attended, that's $140 a person that it costs to get those people there.
Yes.
In the future, your goals, looking at 2027, and 2026, you're looking at getting that down to $45.
Yes.
A person. I would just hope that you'd be more ambitious than that.
Okay. Okay. Good to know.
A couple quick questions. We just answered one of them, and that is this is a premier event, and I think we could get a significant, I'll exaggerate, I want to double the number with more out-of-state advertising, and even in the community advertising. It's such an easy and great event. I'm trying to think of the best way, because I'm going to support this. But as you looked at our agenda today, there were two other examples. One, a for-profit company, the Plaza Hotel, had their grant extended another 3 years. And the same with the city of Las Vegas. It also had its grant for the parade. Both of them make sense. I'm wondering whether or not that would be something that nonprofits could also participate in. And maybe I would suggest talking with Dr. Seabrandt and maybe at our next meeting add a couple of years. But I would also like to really have a specific budget to address what Louise Helton is talking about regarding advertising. This is I think we can get easily. I mean, we should be able to get. I know it's a lot more people, but up to 2,500 to 3,000 people
Yes.
as we move forward. This is such spectacular, but I don't think we can add 2 more years or 2 or 3 years to this specific item. So I think if you talk to Dr. Seabrandt and come back as soon as possible, you can also, like the Plaza and the El Dorado Parade, have the ability to plan out and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sinha.
I just want to say I think the variety of options available is tremendous. I think it's one of the best programs that we're a part of. So I would wholly support this, and I move for approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. And a question, please, member?
And I may have missed it, but I mean, it seems to me that one of the pivotal moments in the history of Las Vegas deals with housing, the railroad cottages. When I was a little boy, most of them were still here. Are they depicted anyway? Are they shown?
We, in moving forward, we're really hoping this upcoming year, we actually are presenting tomorrow at the Nevada Museum Association, and we're talking about some of the partnerships that we gained, and we're hoping to really get into a partnership with the Springs Preserve. Thank you. The Springs Preserve, because Boomtown would be just perfect because, you know, we've got the cottages there. It's 1905 right there. So we're hoping this year that, you know, that's a partnership that we can. Yeah, the Clark County Museum is also, we did an event with them that was kind of a highlight for folks who had never been out there. So
there are 1 or 2 still surviving in downtown Las Vegas, but what the Springs Preserve has done is preserved 4 of them. There's 4 different plans, and 2 of them I think you can really walk through and really get a sense. But I think, Senator, that's a great idea.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Sinnock and a second by Member Stodahl. All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
On the phone, how are you?
Commissioner Brown? I think she disconnected. Commissioner Coffin?
They both sound silent. Okay, they're probably disconnected. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously for those present.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and if you'll post it. Thank you. Okay, I've cut them off. It's done. There they are. Thank you very much.
That carried.
Okay, unanimously, right. All right, on to agenda item 15, 230475 CLC1. Discussion for possible action regarding approval of grant modification number 1 concerning commission for the Las Vegas Centennial grant number 220499 CLC1 to 300 Stewart Avenue Corporation, DBA, as the Bob Museum for costs associated with the production of a documentary film highlighting the history of the building as a U.S. Post Office and courthouse and museum located 300 Stewart Avenue, and authorizing the president to execute the grant agreement as approved by the city attorney. This is in Ward 5 with Councilman Creer. And this was Member Mowbray's suggestion. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Seabrandt, for the record, ma'am.
Please.
The applicant has asked for this item to be stricken, please.
Okay.
So moved.
Second?
And seconded by Member Bryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. So hopefully you'll be back, Mr. Mowbray. All right, we're on to agenda item 16, 230476 CLC1, final report by staff from the Community Development Department regarding 2022 grant funding by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial to the City of Las Vegas Historic Preservation Commission for various projects.
Thank you, Sue Brent, for the record. So I'm speaking on behalf of our Historic Preservation Commission. The HPC and the Centennial Commission have had a mutual agreement since I think the Centennial Commission actually was formed in funding the Historic Preservation Commission for the different projects and type of programming that we do. And so from our last funding that we received from the commission, just want to show where that money went to, and we did a lot of neighborhood outreach, meetings with the neighbors in our historic districts. We always bring some little giveaways and literature and brochures and information that talks about what historic preservation is, why it's important, and it gives the opportunity for us to engage with the local community. We also use the funding to fund our historic resource surveys. With the most recent two were the Charleston Heights Survey and the West Side Survey. And that West Side Survey is actually being used by the presenter from item 7 is for the design guidelines, taking the information from that survey and incorporating it into this new guidelines, or I'm sorry, it's a guidebook. So it's not only great for our purposes of knowing what we can survey, what has been surveyed, what hasn't been surveyed, to understand the historic relevance of the properties in our surveys, but also it does carry over into other parts of planning preservation for different communities. We also have used funding for our educational and training for our commissioners and staff. We attended the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions meeting in Cincinnati last year. It was a great event where we were able to talk to other commissioners from other states. I met some of the staff from the Boulder City and had not met them before. It's kind of odd to meet them in Cincinnati, but this is what's great about these types of forums, and well, they call this a forum, but it's a conference. We also have one coming up in November, and it's the National. I don't have my glasses on, and I'm blanking on what it's called. The National Trust for Historic Preservation, and that one's in D.C. And again, there will be several commissioners and staff that will be attending that one. We have also used the funding for our plaques for our designated historic properties. The most recent one, of course, was the John Mull's Meats. And so we do the plaque, do a ceremony, and they put the plaque on their property that designates it that it is on our local register. And then we also do have our Historic Preservation Month awards. Historic Preservation Month is in May, and our commissioners or anybody can really nominate somebody that has done something that is very important for historic preservation in the city. There could be something that they preserved. It can be an educational type programming. And if this commission is interested in that, we can alert you to when those awards will be, we're going to be gathering the nominations. And so we give everybody a certificate, and this year we also had a little luncheon in our Now Cafe here in order to thank everybody for preserving the history of Las Vegas. And any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any comments, questions here, please?
Just 2 points. One, while I will vote for this, I just want to acknowledge for the record that I'm a member of the Historic Preservation Commission.
No. Really? Wow, you could have fooled all of us.
Secondly, while there are on-site visits by staff and by a commissioner to the meetings that are out of state, There are also online presentations that all of us can attend, and they're really informative. They are not pie in the sky, they are reality-based, the challenges and opportunities with historic preservation as well as heritage tourism, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it is often a way to that we can add to the reason why we preserve historic structures.
Beautiful.
So, thank you.
Beautiful, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion on agenda item.
No, this is just the report, ma'am.
This one is?
Yes. And then our next item is the request for the grant.
Oh, okay, I knew it was coming. So that's 16 is 230476 CLC1. Final report by staff with Community Development regarding 2022 grant funding by the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial, the City of Las Vegas. Las Vegas Historic Preservation Commission for various projects.
So thank you for Seabrant for the record again. And this is asking for our funding, again, for the amount of $75,000, which will support programming and projects, just as I've shown you. And thank you, Commissioner and Chairman Stodel, for our HPC, of mentioning the online classes, which we have the opportunity, if we wanted to do online conferences, classes, and webinars, like at least several days during the month, and it is all really informative and very valuable for us. But if there's any questions of what else we, if you have questions
move
on
on
any
to
of our-
17 for the money.
Sorry?
And we move on to number 17 for the money.
I'm sorry, I thought that's what we were on. Did I?
No, it's on, I see it as number 17, asking for 75,000.
Okay, sorry, I thought that we'd already
So we
read that
got
in.
15 and 16 with a song and dance, which I love. And now we're into number 17, 230447 CLC1. Discussion for possible action regarding approval of a grant request for $75,000 by the City of Las Vegas, acting by and through its Historic Preservation Commission for the costs associated with supporting a variety of historic preservation initiatives and authorizing the President to execute the grant agreement as approved by the City Attorney, and this is in reference to all wards. Therefore, Member Stodol.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And can we have a second? Down there is the second. Member Mowbray. And so all in favor, signify by aye. Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously, sadly without our two telephone people.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 18, report by the Executive Director of the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial regarding completed projects and announcements relative to the Commission for the Las Vegas Centennial.
Okay, Seabrant for the record, and I'll just stay up here since I'm standing here. So all of our projects are in progress, and we've just added several more, so it's going to continue to be a very busy year and bleeding into next year. So we have the radio grant, actually that junior leagues needs to be taken off. They pulled out of that one. The classic Las Vegas Digital History Project, you just renewed Lynn Zook's project. We have the 1960s documentary. It is in production. Remember, May is our premiere. The West Side documentary is going really well. The Duck Duck Shed. Hopefully everybody saw the exhibit in the lobby. That is part of the Duck Duck Shed program, where it's the exhibit that's in our City Hall until the end of October. And I've seen a lot of people that have been coming in to actually just see it, that I don't think they came to City Hall for anything but that, so that's great that people are coming with the interest of it. And I've had many people say to me that they want to see more type exhibits like that in our lobby, because usually we have some type of art project in there. So this is definitely drawing some great reviews. The El Dorado documentary is going well. The La Concha lobby is in progress. The Old Time Reunion event is next month. And then the West Side School Centennial Parade and event, and Commissioner Councilman Creer already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, please come to our event. We've been working with the West Side School alumni Foundation, as well as several other departments within the city, and it's been a multi-department and office planning that's on Saturday, September 30th, this Saturday. The parade starts at 10 a.m. This is the parade route on the map. The best viewing is really going to be obviously on Jackson Avenue, where we'll have the stage, and as each parade entry comes by the stage, just like in the El Dorado Parade, they will announce what that float or entry is, and then the parade ends at the school at 330 Washington, and there will be, starting at 11 a.m., we will have a land acknowledgement, we will have a drum circle, we will have several different dancers and singers and bands from a very diverse group of individuals as well as groups that will be performing. There's going to be old-time games like jacks and skip rope and hopscotch, and so it should be a really great day for everybody. There's going to be several community booths there. We will be manning a booth there for the Historic Preservation Commission to give out literature about historic preservation, talk about, preserving the history in the historic West Side, talking about, from our survey, of what is potentially eligible to list. So, please come out and enjoy the day. It's going to be like 80 degrees, so it's going to be pretty nice.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I think we're okay.
All right, thank you.
It's going to be cooler, I heard, though. You could sell sweatshirts with Historic West Side on them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Quickly order. Right. Okay, agenda item 19, discussion regarding topics for future agenda items. Comments made during this portion of the agenda by individual members should refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion should be limited to whether or not such a proposed item is within the purview of the commission and or whether such proposed item should be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken. So my question is, what happened to Member Mowbray's issue that we struck about a mob museum film? Does that mean it's coming back?
No, okay, sorry about that. No, the film is not stricken. The only thing that was stricken is they initially submitted a grant for an increase in funding for the documentary. Oh. But the documentary is still, it's still going to be premiered in November. So the documentary is still in progress, being produced. And sorry if there was confusion on that. They were just asking for an increase in funding, but they were able to fit the funding within their current budget. So the documentary's still on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything that yes, Member Arnold, please.
Since I haven't talked much during this meeting, I feel like some time back, I brought up the conversation about the website, and I took another visit there because I had another thought during the discussion about the histories and the searching them and who's going to host them. So a couple thoughts. I would like to be able to have a discussion about the website, or lack of. I feel like with our kind of budget, we should at least have something listing all of the awards that we've done over the years, all of the accomplishments, and potentially links to all of the different historical documents, whether it's the videos or other projects. The other thing I think might be worth looking into is if we could do some sort of hosting service for these different archival projects. Why can't we host some of those things where there are documents on our site that you can go and search, house somewhere? I think on most of these, the way the language is written in the contracts is we have some sort of right to them. I know that's a whole nother discussion. But I would like to just have that broader discussion. I feel like it's time to try and find a better home for all of our investments here.
I just want to echo that on several levels. First, if you go through the city's existing website, you can find any number of historical pieces of information, whether it's the Pioneer Trail that's over here on this site, whether it's this particular document that's over here. The city's Historic Preservation Commission creates, funds through the money that this commission just did, $75,000. And as Dr. Seabrand pointed out, 2 fantastic surveys of the Charleston Heights area, which covers a great portion of the development of the community in the Northwest. There was one that was just completed, an intense survey of the historic elements of the West Side community. Another one is in progress on the east side, the eastern community. We did one originally, the city did one originally on the Huntridge World War II theater residential area, and we finished another one on the Biltmore. Those are within the bowels of the city, and they need to be in one place where the public can access them, along with a chronological, fact-based history of our community. Just some dates that we can go through that are fact-based. We make a big deal on our side of Elvis. Well, Elvis is fine in 57, but he never really, I don't think, maybe he stepped foot in Fremont Street. But to focus on the development of the city with a capital C on a website, we have a glorious and fun and entertainment and challenging history, including the challenges that this community went through in the 40s, 50s, and 60s of racial discrimination. We need to address that, acknowledge that took place in a very factual way. So our history, we have the money to invest $10,000 or $500,000 to make this the most spectacular historic website that this country has seen. And so I think we need to move forward in some way with a forum, with some other way to create what we're asking for specifically. But I endorse what you're saying 100%.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I would concur. This body has the resources, and we're in a quasi-public-private relationship. The city is tasked to staff the Centennial Commission, but in essence, it's a separate entity. I would suggest that we craft a RFP of some sort that would go out to the public seeking either a request for service where we would actually hire someone and then work to design. I mean, I can't do this, but my company designs probably about 50 websites a year. But you would work with them to get the content together. You would map it, right? You would scale it and you would figure out, and then you can either put together a budget or you can scale it and see what that would cost, because it really can be a resource and it can be a library for all the things that we've already approved that could go in. You can access it, right? And you can just go in, whether it's access to the YouTube page or whatever. But there are a lot of ways to go by doing it. And I would say that we would either get an agenda item that would allow us to create an RFP that went out for requests for information or requests for purchase, and then see what we get back, and then work with someone to build something.
Okay, so I think you have a direction there that we obviously would like to discuss a website.
Just say one
Yes,
thing?
please, Madam.
I think that we were very successful in doing a similar process with the filming, with our wonderful documentaries. And the thing that we need to lead the project with is the vision of what this needs to actually be, and then find somebody who can actually do it. And so I think that's where it's going to take the vision of people who are on this commission to make sure that we get a product that we want to have delivered. We've all talked about needing that repository, that archive, that hyperlinkable, word searchable opportunity that we all would like for all of the things that the Centennial Commission has been participating in. But this would be, I think, something that needs to have some visioning done by members of this commission.
One last comment, solo for the record. There are two elements to it. One is the creation what the commissioner mentioned, and that could be you come back with a formation of a formal committee of this group. Secondly, to me, there's two parts. It's the creation of that website, the creation of the content that's in there. But what occurs is after it's created, it gets out of date. There's two parts. The creation of the content on the website and the website itself, and then something that we fund a way to update it, a staff or somebody, so it just doesn't go cold the minute we put it on the air. It needs to be massaged and managed and updated on a regular basis. Thank you.
So I think, Dr. Seabrand, you have the sense of what the feeling is, and anybody who would like to speak with Dr. Seabrand or send an email for updates as we expand the conversation, and certainly at some point to talk with the people that do the various websites for the city and our public information, so we're not being too broad, too generous, too off the table on this. So thank you very much. Any other subject matter? See what you started?
I know.
It was good. You've been missing.
I have more. But
You were missing. You needed to be here. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to 20. Our second and final citizen. Look at, here's wonderful Dr. Miss Laura Kaufman.
I think Laura has
been
public
with me
comment.
From day. Come up and make some comment. Citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Commission unless the subject is on the agenda scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come forward, give your name for the record, the amount of discussion in any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speakers allowed may be limited, and seeing and hearing none. Thank you to all of our wonderful staff. Thank you to our members. Thank you to our wonderful clerk, and whatever technological support we're getting him back. We're adjourned. Thank you all.